Hey guys, welcome back again. Dave's Dimension, welcome back again for another video. Welcome back to the channel where chaos and insanity will always reign supreme. Back again. This video is going to be a little different than the normal ones, guys. This is, well, the state of Doctor Who. You guys know me as a toy collector, unboxer, sometimes modifier for props. One of my favorite shows is Doctor Who. Ever since I was a kid, I used to watch the old reruns on PBS of Doctor Who, going all the way back to, I mean, well, all the Doctors, really. Tom Baker, I mean, just all of them. Honestly, and this is not any kind of woke tirade of any kind. Jodie Whittaker, I think, is a fantastic actress, and I think given different circumstances, she would be a much better doctor. Okay? Honestly, the current state of Doctor Who, of course, we had Russell T Davies bring it back in 2005. And then, of course, Moffat took over. And then Chibnall. Chris Chibnall, nothing against him personally. He's done some amazing pieces of work prior to Doctor Who, but it seems like he's taking Doctor Who and he's driving it into the ground. And what I mean by this is the wokeness of how his writing is. When he took over Doctor Who, okay, we suddenly got 3 companions. Nothing wrong with that. And I loved the, step grandfather and, estranged grandson, especially, I love that. I love the complications and dynamic of them. Yes, I don't know. It just, something felt off there. It felt like they're going down a checklist. Okay, and this, I'm not being disrespectful in any shape or form. Okay, we have an older white man. We have a young black man. Let's throw another ethnic group into it. That's almost how I felt. I mean, personally, and Jodie Whittaker, I think it was time that we had a female doctor. I'm all for that. But she's being wasted. I know she's a great actress. I've seen her in so many different shows. She's worked opposite of David Tennant's, our 10th Doctor from the show. I mean, she's a great actress. I just think the writing and the direction of the show is what has so many fans have kind of, jumped up, threw their arms up like, what is this? And they're blaming her. She has nothing to do with it. I mean, sure, she does have something to do with it, but it comes down to the direction of the show, the showrunner, the director for those episodes, the writers of those episodes, the producers of the episodes. So everything that is going on is, I put it on Chibnall's fault. He's to blame because he's the one directing the show. He's the one executive producing it. He's the one basically driving the show, and it's going down further and further. This current season, so much is all over the place, and personally, I like when we have different story arcs and you're trying to see, how is this going to fit in? How is this going to work? It's making no sense to me whatsoever. There's no continuity, and when I mean continuity, I'm going to bring that up in a different aspect. His version of the Sontarans for this season, it's like he took the special effects all the way back from the 70s and 80s, and he says, hey, let's bring that back to 2021. I mean, basically, it's completely obliterating the special effects style of the Sontarans from 2005 all the way to now. We had more, what looked like it would be more an accurate look as far as contemporary, as far as how we would think they look. I mean, ever since 2005, I shouldn't say 2005, but during Tennant's time, as Doctor Who, and all the way through Matt Smith and all the way through Peter Capaldi, we had the Centaurans looking a certain way, and I thought that, okay, this is how they're going to look moving forward. But now Chibnall brought the weird, heavily prosthetic. I don't know. It looks all kinds of wonkiness. But you know what? There can be different clone batches of the Centaurans. That could be the rationale for that. Okay. That is just one thing all onto itself. At least with the Cybermen and the Angels, they're still looking the same, except this most recent episode I saw, Village of Angels, was just terrible. At one point, a person was, it appeared as if someone had an angel within them, and these wings pop out of the person's back, and they look like foam. I mean, it looks obviously cheap and generic and not any kind of CGI, not the type of special effects we're known for in the show. It's just, this whole season's just all kinds of wonkiness. And the whole thing about, now, nothing against Jo Martin, the actress who plays the previous Doctor before all the other Doctors. Fantastic actress, and I liked her take on the Doctor, okay? But the whole thing that the Doctor is this timeless child, that the Doctor is the precursor to all of the Time Lords, and that there's generation upon regenerations that we don't even know about that precede the first Doctor as we know him. It feels like Chibnall's saying, you know what? I finally get to drive Dad's car. Let me just change the paint. Let's change the engine. Let's change just about everything on it and drive it to the ground before the car gets passed on to my younger brothers. That's how I feel about the show right now. I feel like it's being driven to the ground. We have the rest of this season, however many episodes are left, and then we have the specials that will be produced or aired next year. And then Russell T Davies will regain the show and produce it anew. I'm just hoping by that point in time there's still a show left for him to save. He resurrected the show back in 2005. I have tremendous faith and confidence in Russell T Davies. I mean, he brought us Christopher Eccleston, David Tennant. I mean, he did so much. He expanded the Whoverse, if you don't mind me using that term. He expanded the Doctor Who universe by creating the spin-off Sarah Jane Adventures, which was fantastic. It was more of a kids driven show, but it had that same air of Doctor Who. It had, it was more kid friendly, whereas, let's be honest, Doctor Who now is more for us, right? And of course, Torchwood. I loved Torchwood. I've loved every season and iteration of Torchwood. Children of Earth was a bit dark, but that's what Torchwood's all about. I even like the Stars series, the one season that they did through Stars. I really liked it. I would love to see some variation of Torchwood come back, especially with how they ended that one season. I haven't listened to any of the Big Finish audio stories, which I really should. Hell, they could even revisit the 8th Doctor. The 8th Doctor never really got his time to shine except in the audio stories in that one movie and then one small little clip. Paul McGann really deserves to have a series himself. I know some people said that they would love to see Tennant and 11 go on some joint adventures maybe for a season. I mean, there's a lot of different things out there, guys. But right now, the whole thing about Yaz kind of like pining for the Doctor, and there's some frustration between the two, and just, I don't know, it doesn't feel right. It feels like Whittaker is finally coming into her own as the Doctor. There's been times where she's holding information back, or where she's being slightly, emotional and very angry. That feels more like a traditional Doctor to me. I just finished watching Village of Angels, me and my wife, and we're both like, what the hell are they doing with the show right now? Now, my wife got introduced to the show when Matt Smith was on. During the Matt Smith years, her favorite is Peter Capaldi, and we met him. Very awesome guy in real life, amazing person in real life. Me, like I said, I've been lifelong. I mean, I watched the old reruns on PBS when I was a kid. I mean, my classic era, probably my favorite Doctor is probably going to be Tom Baker. You know, you kind of have to go with Tom Baker. I mean, he had the longest tenure of being a Doctor. I liked Peter Davison, don't get me wrong. The early Doctors, of course. I wasn't a big fan of Colin Baker. I'm sorry. I don't know. Too pompous for me. That's just me personally. But it's like Chibnall is just driving the show into the ground. That's what it feels like, guys. It's just terrible. I mean, I'm sure he has a plan as far as where he's going, the direction he's going. But this whole thing with the division and the Doctor having all this time before, and not having that blocked out. Yes, the Time Lords have blocked out the Doctor's memory before, plenty of times. Especially the Doctor's ability to, or his memory on how to time travel. When he was, the third Doctor was banished to Earth. Banished by the Time Lords, and also a crucial piece of the TARDIS was removed, so he could not actually leave Earth. Okay? So I get that. But to block out whole regenerations, it would be one thing if that Time Lord, during that regeneration did terrible things that could, that obviously, like, it's like a killer. Like, you get a mental patient, maybe they give them shock therapy to try and treat them, or to get those painful memories blocked, or whatever the case may be. But the fact that there's all these regenerations that we don't even know about, it just feels kind of weird. To me, it doesn't make sense. That's just my personal feeling. The actors that they have on the show are tremendous. It's just, I think the writing and the direction of the show is at fault here. I like the energy that Jodie Whittaker had. Pockets. I have pockets now. Some of the design aspects, I'm not a big fan of. Let's put all cards on the table, guys. The phallic-like shape of the sonic screwdriver, and the fact that the sonic screwdriver is completely made out of all Earth-based technology is something else that's a little weird. I mean, I can't recall ever seeing the Doctor build a sonic out of purely Earth-based technology. I get you have to make do with what you have. I get that. It just seems a little weird, and the fact that her sonic that she constructs, and when she finally gets back to the TARDIS's console room is pretty much an echo of that. Now, I get that most people are probably thinking, well, the Doctor shares a psychic link with the TARDIS, right? So the TARDIS must have finally synced up with the Doctor and said, hey, I'm going to make my inside look like this. But also the TARDIS exists in all dimensions of space. Past, present, future, whatnot. So obviously the TARDIS would have known that, could see what the Doctor's sonic would look like, and maybe replicated the interior to do so. But what the interior of the TARDIS look. I love how spacious it looks like. I love the gears, the more machine look to it. But it looks like someone took the TARDIS and Superman's Fortress of Solitude and slammed them together. That's what it kind of looks like. I mean, some of the interior looks cool, but it looks like some kind of weird arachnid-like crystalline creature. And again, the center console just looks, again, a little bit phallic. I know this, I mean, it's just, I don't know, it's like subliminal sexism in a way. I mean, maybe my thoughts are not being conveyed correctly, but there's a lot of aspects that I'm just not a fan of. I love the exterior of the TARDIS. Okay, don't get me wrong. I love that old kind of color to it, the old design to it. I love it. But there's a lot of things that I just think were not the greatest choices in the world. But for me, I mean, I can forgive the Sonic. I can forgive my hang-ups on the interior of the TARDIS. But the direction of the damn show, I mean, when the Doctor came back in 2005, it was the Doctor, traveling through the world, still trying to protect Earth, but he carried the heavy burden of knowing that Gallifrey was gone, and that he was the one who caused it. And it was him meeting Rose, and she helped him kind of start to maybe not forgive himself, but start to heal or start to move on in a way to being a better Doctor. I mean, that's one of the reasons why the Doctor travels with companions, whether they're human or alien. He gets to share the universe, all his travels, but he gets to see it through their eyes. It's like you saw an amazing movie, right? Now you want to bring your friends, your loved ones, to check out this amazing movie because you want to see their reactions. You want to see their responses to it. And that's what the Doctor does. I mean, the universe, past, present, future, he's seen it before. I mean, I've seen every little scene, but he's kind of seen it before. He kind of knows what happens, but he likes to see it, experience it through their eyes. And we're not really feeling it here. There's been a lot of, I guess, dare I say, bold choices. Like we deal with a child who has communication issues, and her father is living in a parallel dimension, a pocket dimension, if you will. We deal with racism in the South in the 50s with Rosa Parks. Don't get me wrong, it's definitely a story that needs to be told, and it doesn't get old being told. But that there's a time traveler who's also trying to keep things negative in the past, it feels a little bit too Quantum Leap, that episode. Okay? It just seems like some of the writing, some of the directions are just out there. Don't get me wrong, the Salem Witch episode was really, really good. I mean, there are some hits throughout the series, but there's a lot of misses. There are a lot of misses. The Master, nothing against the actor who portrayed the Master during the Chibnall era. It's just like the whole James Bond, evil villain twist, and just. And the question is, we never truly find out where he is in the Master's timeline of generations. Was he a precursor before Missy? Was he a precursor before, the Tennant era Master? We don't know. Could he be another set of regenerations? We don't know. The only thing I'm really hoping for is, in another year and a half or so, or whenever, when the Russell T Davies takes the show back, that there's something that allows some kind of retcon, some kind of, universal reset, that he can kind of realign or restructure the show back to its original continuity. Now, I don't mean continuity where, 13 never existed. I definitely think we should have women doctors. I think we should have already have had a black doctor. I mean, the Doctor can change into any race or any sex, skin tone, anything that he wants. Okay? We know in the past, Capaldi, 12th Doctor, 11 regenerated into 12, obviously. 11 goes to 12, right? Makes sense. But he chose that face for a certain reason, as a reminder of who he should be. A reminder of that moment where 10 could have left Pompeii, left everyone to die, but no, he decided to save one family. he decided to save 4 people because Donna reminded him, you don't have to save everyone, but save them. You don't have to change the world, but you can make one small change that can make a bigger change down the line. That's what we need. Okay? There's a lot of people I think would be great as a doctor. I mean, what if the Doctor regenerated into Rory? Kind of a reminder of what he lost, but also a reminder of what Rory was. Rory wasn't always the best person. He wasn't always the bravest person. But when you needed him, he pulled through. And there's not anything he wouldn't have done for Amy. So I think it would be great to have Arthur Daverill back and have him as the Doctor. I think that would be pretty tremendous. There's a few other actors that I would love to see. If he wasn't such a big movie actor right now, Idris Elba, I think, would be a bloody fantastic Doctor. He would be friggin' amazing. There's so many other people. I am blanking on his name, but there was a gentleman who played in the 2-part End of Time. There was the rich billionaire father. I'm blanking on his name. He recently played John Jones in the Supergirl series on CW. I'm blanking on his name right now. I apologize tremendously, but I think he would be a great Doctor. The Doctor can be people from his past. Okay, we have seen companions who actually portrayed other characters before. Case in points, Amy. Amy actually played one of the priestesses from the Pompeii episode. Okay, couple seasons before she would come around. Another example, Clara. She actually played in an episode of Doctor Who when the 11th Doctor and Amy went to World War II, or World War I rather, to see Winston Churchill. She played one of the young ladies working in the office in the bunker for Churchill. I mean, we've had plenty of companions that were other characters. So, I mean, come on, give us something like that. Give us another face, another driving force. Okay, we don't know where 13's face came from. Maybe it was just let's give it a whirl, and give us a Ginger. Come on, we still haven't had a Ginger yet. There's so much that they can do with Doctor Who. It just feels like Chibnall is running it into the ground. It doesn't make any sense what he's doing specifically, but I mean, that's my take on it, guys. I really have no idea what they are friggin' doing with Doctor Who right now. My only hope is Russell T Davies when he comes back. It's going to be interesting who he chooses. Is he going to go for a younger person again? Is he going to go for an older person? There's a lot of people that would be an amazing Doctor. I mean, someone threw out the name James Corden. I can't see him leaving his talk show. We loved him as Craig. He was awesome. I mean, as a big guy, as someone who has asthma, I mean, I'm leaned more towards the everyday looking kind of person. Okay, I loved Christopher Eccleston. I understand that he will never come back to Who because of a lot of what was going on with the BBC and some of the issues with Russell T Davies and whatnot. So I get that completely. But we also know from the Day of the Doctor that at some point in the future, the Doctor will regenerate into previous or past versions of himself. That opens up the door for number 10, number 11, or even number 8. I would love to see 8 come back. I really think 8 deserves at least 1 or 2 seasons. I mean, he was a fantastic Doctor. I would really love to see that come back. And that's another Doctor I met, Paul McGann. Amazing person, very awesome. One of the nicest people you meet. But yeah, between some of the choices of the stories that they're telling or trying to tell, I get that, oh, it's 2021, you kind of have to be edgy, you kind of have to do things differently, you can't do things the same old way. I'm not saying that doing the same old way, but make some sense. Do stories for the sake of character development. Do a story for a reason, okay? If the Doctor is going to be this race or this gender, or they're going to have this mission in their life, make it make sense. Okay? That's one of the big things in Hollywood now is, oh, we have to do this, we have to do that, we have to do this because, oh, this is what this person wants. No, don't try and please people. I mean, yes, obviously you want something that's enjoyable, but what it comes down to is, does it make sense? Okay? Does it make sense or not? Okay, like Disney's Marvel's movie, The Eternals. I am not going to pay $1 to see that movie. I'll eventually see it when it comes on Disney Plus. But it just seems woke. It seems woke as a joke, as it were, okay? It seems like, okay, you're doing inclusion just so you can include every group. That doesn't make sense, okay? A good example is, The Walking Dead. It's been on this is the 11th final season, but they have some storylines in there that make perfect sense. We've had heavyset people in that show that are still somehow surviving in the apocalypse. We've had people who had an arm chopped off, or you had someone who was a deaf mute. We've had a few. We've had a few people who were deaf, or who had physical or biological ailments or restrictions. They even hit a handicapped person on there. I love that. I'm not saying I love seeing people wearing handicapped. No. What I'm saying is I love seeing that they're actually doing this because this would make sense in the world. Obviously, in the world, you wouldn't see tons of heavyset people. You wouldn't see tons of people with asthma issues. You wouldn't see tons of people with physical ailments, but you would occasionally see some people because, survival of the fittest. But just because you have restrictions, just because you are different, doesn't mean you can't rise up. And that's why I still watch The Walking Dead. I mean, that's an example of people who are not so perfect, living in an imperfect world, but they're making it. They are fighting every single day, but they are still there every day to fight. With Doctor Who, I mean, it seems like they're just marking off lists. Okay, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this. I mean, it's just, don't do it just because this group wants it, this group wants it, and that group wants it. Do it if it makes sense, okay? Have the Doctor be, I mean, obviously the Doctor is well over 2,000 years old. Make that Doctor someone who, after all this time, maybe they want to reconnect with family. The Doctor still has his daughter, Jenny, out there traveling throughout the universe. I mean, have the Doctor be, I don't know, a bit more vulnerable? Show a little bit more anger? Because 9 showed anger, 10 showed anger, 11 showed anger, and 12 definitely showed anger. 13's just starting to show some anger and frustration, but it took a long while. Okay? We don't want someone who's perfect. We want someone who is vulnerable, someone who makes mistakes, because that's who we are. When you have a character in a show, whether they're a 2,000-year-old Time Lord, or, they're just someone who's down under luck, the more relatable they are, the more we can connect with them. Okay? You can't have someone who's always decisive all the time. You gotta have someone who is pulled in different directions. That's what makes them who they are. So that's my beef. That's my gripe here, guys. I just had to do I had to kind of air my thoughts on Doctor Who. Whether you agree with it or not, these are my thoughts personally. If you liked this video, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't, give me a thumbs down. If you disagree with me, let me know in the comment section below. I mean, this is just my own opinion, thoughts on Doctor Who, at least the state of Doctor Who, as of, it's November 27th of 2021, guys. Okay? So those are my thoughts and opinions right now. I'm hoping it turns around. I'm looking forward to Russell T Davies taking the reins back, and hopefully, steering us back in the right direction. Now, as what I mean by right direction, stories that make a bit more sense. Whether it's a male doctor, female doctor, a trans doctor. I mean, I don't know. Doctor is supposed to be omnisexual, pretty much just like Jack. You know, I just want to have, I don't know, the stories make a little bit more sense. Have a direction. The Doctor was all about, traveling the universe, past, present, and future, and this current Doctor just seems like there's no direction. I mean, even 9 and 10, 9, 10, and even 11 had that shared regrets of dooming Gallifrey and about being homeless. We're not feeling that frustration anymore. Yes, we know that Gallifrey was still somewhere. And thanks to this season, or not this season, but the prior season, we saw Gallifrey get completely destroyed. Well, not the planet, but the people. By the Daleks and a crazy master, working with them. I mean, he looked like he came off as an impetuous little child, just whiny, complainy. I mean, what I would like is, what if this whole time with 13, maybe it was an alternate universe, a parallel Doctor from a parallel universe. I mean, that's a possibility. I mean, anything's possible in the multiverse, right? So, I mean, I really don't know if Russell T Davies is going to retcon it, or if there's something that happens, some change in space and time that causes the universe to be reset, and maybe alternate timelines are now realigned into the prime universe. We don't know. Those are just some crazy thoughts on how he may or may not be headed for that, but we'll see what happens. So, guys, this is Dave from Dave's Dimension. This was my recap, my thoughts on Doctor Who, at least the state of it. And until next time, guys, 2 things, you know what I'm going to say. Keep on busting, and I will always catch you on the flip side. Take care.